Welcome to Bad Idea Metals. I'm Anthony, and we've received a shipment of some old stuff, some of it from the 80s and 90s. And this right here is going to be the item that we start with. It's in the worst condition of everything. I do have to say that one of the machines, I did pull the cover off and I looked inside, and there's this really nice old A80 386 20 megahertz and companion 387 processor in there. And man, can I just say, some of these things are beautiful, really old. We're not getting into these machines today. They're still out in the snow. As you can see, I have a layer of snow on everything. But what we have today, the labels have all kind of worn off in the UV. These were in a field. You can see some animals tried living in here. And so, since I don't know exactly what's underneath everything, I'm pretty sure there's no animals in here. But I really don't know how much mud, how much debris, and what can fall out. I've protected my table, and because this thing weighs upward of about 70 pounds, I put down a placemat. Okay, so just gonna talk through what I see as I tear this apart, but I figured this would be a fun thing to show since I don't see any of these anymore. In fact, I can't honestly say I've seen a drive this big outside of display cases. So right off, I see this piece right here that says Apollo computer, part number and stuff. I did a lookup on Apollo computers. There's several different types. There's obviously the computer that was on the Apollo spacecraft, and that came up in the search. But I highly doubt that this came off of some space orbiting craft that our astronauts were piloting. But you know what? Who knows? This isn't that old. Maxtor is the brand. You can see it clear as day right here. It says Maxtor. Maxtor was making hard drives when I was buying my first computer. I don't know if they still do. I have a feeling they don't, because I haven't seen Maxtor for a very long time. Western Digital kind of took over that space. And then I haven't seen Maxtor's really much at all. So there's two drives. This whole thing is extremely heavy. And there's this panel here, and I'm not exactly sure how to get this off without making a huge mess with all this mud. So I may be mopping up the kitchen here in about an hour. So first things first, what do I see? There's a fan. This drive obviously lived within a housing of some sort. And I'm trying to show you the bottom of this thing. It's just a big piece of aluminum with a huge chunk of snow. So yeah, there's nothing terribly exciting about the bottom. It looks like I might be able to isolate the drives. There's some Phillips here on the side. All right. So the drives should be free if I flip this over. Probably could just peel it off. Hey, look at that. Well, you can see here that this frame, it's not showing any rust, so I'm not sure what this is. It's rigid. I don't think grass was in their specification either, but hey, that's in abundance here today as well. All right, this caked on mud. Let's take a look what's hiding on these driver control boards. I see several dip processors, what looks like a whole bunch of fun stuff. I got tantalum capacitors. I don't see a whole lot of stuff that I know is going to contain a whole lot of valuable material, but doesn't mean that it doesn't. So let's go ahead and isolate one of these drives. Pull off this ribbon cable. Oh yes. So this predates drives having pins, and in the sense that they're metal needles basically, right? This has fingers, and these are going to be nice thick fingers. Oh, I'm excited for those. Those are going to be good. Some of these vintage fingers have the most gold per whatever, per inch, per centimeter, per whatever. I'm seeing MOSFETs on this side. I'm curious if they're just hiding underneath the heatsink, which it looks like they are. So there's MOSFETs over here. Looks like a spider took up residence in there. There's a little bit of a spider web. But so there's some MOSFET. Oh, I don't know what else to really describe. I thought I saw a tantalum capacitor right there, but actually that's got legs, so that's not. But I'll get this cleaned up and we'll figure out what's on this in just a bit. That is one of our Maxtor drives. This guy is not terribly heavy, but he's big. All right. So it's an 8-inch by 5.5, and it is 3 1/4 tall. So that's quite a volume for a drive. They've come away from drives like this a long time ago. Well, I want to save one as kind of a fun little display, but the other one, let's go ahead and open it. Let's go ahead and clean this up. I'm going to set this mess back outside, and that way I've got a cleaner space to work on. All right, Minnie Mouse is all clean. Let's go ahead and take a look at this drive a little closer. I left the clip on it. The clip didn't matter to me. Huh, whatever that was, it's gone. I got a ton of mud in here still. You know what, let's go ahead and take this clip off. I think it's gonna help us out in the long run. Maxtor Corporation. Patent pending in 1985. Well, there you go. So this drive is pretty old. Let's see if we can get this board off the back. That's going to be one of my first items of business. Now I really feel like an archaeologist, looking for dinosaurs and Indiana Jones and whatnot. But there you go. Majority of the board is visible now. I'm really interested in what's inside all of these little chips, but this guy and these two are probably my most favorite. And then there's a few jumpers on here. Jumpers are nice. They reveal gold pins, so there's gonna be gold inside of these. Let's put that back on so I don't lose that. And then these fingers down here. I'm excited about those fingers. Aha. So there's a trick I just did. Sometimes if something is rusty and it doesn't want to go one way, but you've gotten it to go slightly, try tightening it ever so slightly to help break that bond. It's kind of a natural weld that rust does, and it let go. So try that if you're ever stuck with a screw that just doesn't want to come off. Not a guarantee it'll always work, but hey, it did today. There we go. It's gonna be all aluminum, but oh my. That is a fun sight. Look how many disc arrays there are. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. That's one disc array. Look how many platters there are on this disc array. Oh, that is fun. And if I'm not mistaken, those are all exposed gold leads on those little, what are those? Those aren't IC chips. They might actually be ICs without the black compound on them. So let's get down to that point. Oh, it looks like I bit through the screw. Huh. Well, that's an unfortunate thing. That means it's gonna be very difficult to unscrew that. But we should be able to undo the platters. So, I hate doing this because I feel like I'm damaging my my tools when I do this, but sometimes you just need a little bit extra torque. Something that a little driver itself isn't gonna have. But there you go. Sometimes I need a little assistance from my jaws of amazingness right here. Nice piece of aluminum. But it looks as though this actuator actually got corrupted somehow. The magnets that are supposed to be right there are tiny specks of garbage now. I want to do this with a non-ferrous tool. How about this? I was actually very curious what kind of magnets I'd end up with in here. Well, that's not digging hard enough, so we'll just keep going with the screwdriver. Have to clean it off when we're done. All right, I apologize. We're gonna have to do a little bit of a follow-up here. The video cut off because I got a phone call and I thought I reactivated my video, but I didn't. So we're gonna recap the pieces that I got out of the hard drive outside here in the cold. And I'm gonna walk you through some of the pieces that were fascinating to me. So the first item that's pretty interesting to me is the fact that every element of this case was aluminum. Many times this top panel is a stainless steel piece. In this case, it's aluminum, which is good. It's just more aluminum. It's got a higher value. Plus I can melt it if I choose to. It's got these clean aluminum rings. I love that sound. And those spacers went between the different platters. We have 8 platters of, I'm not exactly sure what metal or coating this has. A lot of times the platters are a little bit more chrome-like. So you can see the difference between them. It could just be the age, but I have a feeling that they're actually coated with something different than a more modern platter. Also, if you look side by side, they're enormous in comparison. Hence the fact that this was such a large drive. It needed to be able to house all of these platters. So this is a more modern drive. And this, again, is the one that we just tore apart. It's got these really large platters. I don't know what they are. Some people believe that platters have platinum in them. And it might be possible that these older ones do, but without taking them to an RF scanner and scanning them, I have no idea. So those platters are interesting, but still don't know what they are. This actuator arm, this is the piece that does the reading and writing. It sits on a spindle and will move across the discs as necessary. But one thing that I thought was really cool are these little traces here. They're not pure gold, they're gold-plated iron. They're highly magnetic. But this is a lot like what an IC chip looks like from the inside. If you got all of that black carbon to be peeled back. So that's really cool that it's already exposed. It's not pure gold, but it's a good start. The other thing that's really fascinating about these is these actuator arms are electromagnetic, and these use brass as their counterweights. I'm not sure if there's copper inside of them or what. A more typical actuator arm would look like this guy right here. For a modern drive, you can see it's got that hoop of copper filament that will allow the electromagnet to influence the arm to go across the platters. So there's quite a difference between the copper hoop design and these brass, almost like counterweight design. So I'm not going to pretend to understand all of this. It worked about 35 years ago. So that's pretty cool. And then there's this fan. I think I already showed you the fan, but we're going to look at it again. It's got an aluminum housing on the outside, and it's going to have all the copper coils on the inside. This one is completely seized up. I can't even get it to spin with my own fingers here. It just doesn't want to spin at all. So this one's locked up. And I guess the last thing I was going to show you is maybe a little close-up look of this driver control board. A little side-by-side comparison. So that's the driver control board, and this one is a modern one. You can see it's got the gold fingers still, just like that. However, all the resistors and all the drivers and the ICs, everything is on the other side of this board, and it's not going to have a whole lot. It's really micronized. It's really optimally designed, and you can see just a side by side. It's tiny in comparison to this old board. Anyway, I'm really excited to pop these off and see what's inside, but that's going to be for a different video. But yeah, I wanted to make sure I gave the little bit of a recap on what I discovered in there in this drive. That's what's inside of this enormous drive. It's got some gold pins on the bottom there. You can kind of see them. But all in all, I'd say that the highest value is going to be off the board. Those fingers are going to have a lot of thickness to them compared to the thickness of other fingers. Also, these ICs, I'm really hopeful for this big four-sided one and these two. Well, there's a few of them actually that I'm pretty hopeful for. So we'll see when we can get them apart. We'll see if we can separate them in a way that I can actually pry them apart to take a look inside. But yeah, thanks for watching. This was a fun teardown. It was a lot of energy, but it was worth it, I think, for me. I like to see the inside of these components. And man, 1985 hard drive. There you go. All right. Well, I'll see you in the next video. Good night.